Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and beyond. We are here today talking our fresh, raw, out of theater reactions to Deadpool and Wolverine. Chris and I have just gotten out of the theater. Chris is my guest today. We're not going to spend too much time on the intros because we just kind of want to get in and out of here quick and give you our initial thoughts. We're going to do a further breakdown of the movie once Jordan has seen it tomorrow, probably over the weekend to be out early next week once everyone's had a chance to catch it. But we felt like we had to put a little something out today to just kind of capture that sort of raw emotion we have coming out of the theater. As I said, my name is Ron. With me today is Chris. And Chris, just kind of give it to me straight, man. Just what are you feeling? How are you feeling? What did you think?
Marvel, Jesus is risen. So good. I had a lot of fun. I think it walked. I think I said this in a tweet. It walked a
Mm-hmm.
very fine line over ridiculousness and never fell in. I
Yep.
thought it was a masterpiece. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was very Deadpool. Some might say they went too far. I'm like, they went the right amount, and it wasn't too on the nose. It was almost a little restrained in some areas that I didn't think they would be, and then it was so over the top that it was just I loved it. I had a blast.
Yeah, you and me both, dude. I thought it was the perfect balance of being its own story and being this sort of confined Deadpool and Wolverine story being told in the setting of the MCU multiverse without giving us too much. I've seen some complaints already just in the hours, since we've been out of the theater. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that people walked into this movie expecting it to be Secret Wars in terms of scope, in terms of the not the cameos and all that stuff. We'll get into those in a little bit, but just in terms of they expected a story that was going to change the MCU forever, and this was very much just a Deadpool movie. But it was incredible. I laughed literally from the opening scene until the end. I was laughing. I even not to sound over dramatic here, but there was even a moment where I had a little tear in my eye. I'm a big X-23 Laura fan. Again, I should add this will be a spoiler discussion, but that was in the trailer, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything there. This will be a spoiler discussion, so if you haven't seen the movie so far, click away and then come back once you have. But it just, yeah, man, it gave me everything that I could have wanted from the movie. And I am ecstatic as a life. I mean, you know me, Chris. I X-Men are my thing, and these movies, the Fox movies in particular, were such a formative part of that. So to get all these fun callbacks and all this stuff, and then we got the ending with the nice little montage behind the Green Day song of all the Fox universe and stuff, and that got me too, admittedly.
That got to me. That got to me. I really enjoyed it, and I thought one of the cool things about that Green Day song is it's the perfect ending for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I think our generation knows that better than anybody. But it was a heartfelt moment. I have very few nitpicks. I have a couple nitpicks, but I'm really happy with this movie. I just walked out relieved. Good. The hype was real. It wasn't bullcrap. It wasn't a problem. Like I just walked out of there going, it's not DiGiorno. It delivered.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Like that fresh New Haven pizza we got down here. Um, so yeah, the story kind of was all centered around two kind of main points, I would say, about Deadpool wanting to matter. That was sort of his driving force throughout this movie. He wanted to make an imprint that mattered while also saving his universe. While Logan is sort of trying to redeem himself and make up for the missteps he took in his own universe. And they didn't really go too much into what actually happened in Logan's universe. They gave you the bare bones of the humans went hunting for mutants while he wasn't there. I think some people were probably going to be a little confused by that and be like, "What the hell? You mean to tell me some humans rocked up to the gates and knocked off the entire Xavier Institute. I think we were probably supposed to have they expected us to have the critical thinking level to be like, okay, yeah, it was humans, but it was probably also like sentinels and these other kind of like it's not as simple as the mob rolled up and they killed all of the mutants. But I just again we're gonna try to be short here. We're gonna try to keep things to like 15-20 minutes before we do our full breakdown of the movie this weekend. But just it was cameos galore as well in this movie, despite it feeling like its own smaller, kind of condensed Wolverine and Deadpool movie set in the MCU multiverse. So just give me your thoughts on the cameos that we did see, because there was a lot of them and they were really fun, I thought.
I thought the cameos were very tastefully done. When Elektra showed up, I was someone we had talked about, and I thought I was almost a little surprised that it's so prominent, but I liked that. I really liked that, it was the people that everyone forgot about. We'll
Yeah.
give them endings. It's a nice little respect thing the movie did, but I gotta say, I think my favorite cameo was one that you called. Channing Tatum was hilarious
So funny,
as
dude.
Gambit.
So
So,
funny.
and the reactions when you got Wolverine just sucking down alcohol, and then you got Deadpool reacting so well to the Gambit. They call me the Gambit. I
The
was
Gambit.
like, dude,
Mon ami.
I'm in heaven with this. This is so freaking dope.
How about he goes, who's your fucking dialect coach? The Minions?
One of the best lines of the movie. There's no doubt
So
about
funny,
it.
dude.
And there were a lot of lines. I think the funniest scene in the entire film to me was when they're in the van fighting Deadpool and Wolverine. And they're just fighting just to fight. And it's like, I'm just getting started. It's like, and you just see at the end of it, it's like Deadpool's wrapped in like the seat belt and like there's
Yeah.
blood everywhere.
He's like mummified and all.
And to be fair, like, that's kind of how a fight with Deadpool and Wolverine would only go. Like, they both
Yeah.
have regenerative powers. So it was a really good play on that. And I thought the music with the ridiculous, like, serious, heavy stuff lightened everything to keep it comedic the whole way through. I think the director of this movie understood the assignment in a way where I think this movie was a lot heavier than we actually think it was.
Yeah, I think so very much. Not only in terms of what happened, but in terms of the long-term implications. I think the way that this movie ended off, with, and again, spoilers. If you've made it this far and didn't hear what we said before, just spoilers are abound. The way that it ended with Laura, like with Logan, and they did a really creative thing to get Logan back into the Fox universe without sort of desecrating the movie Logan. And they made a hilarious joke about that in the beginning of like, how are you guys gonna do this without disrespecting Logan? And he's like, fuck that, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna dig this
And I think
motherfucker
that
up.
was so important. I think that was so important. I don't think there was a way to respect Logan and do this movie. And I think making a joke of it from the beginning was the only way they could have gone
Yep.
without having that landmine over the movie the whole time. Because you got to remember that fight scene where he's killing all the TVA agents with the adamantium skeleton. And then, dude, I could not believe when he's attached the claws to his wrists. And
Yeah.
it's just so, dude, what an image. That is an all-time image. Dude, adamantium, he's like, I'm not a scientist, but he is super dead right now. Like, just, I loved it. It was so good. But it was funny because you're with him the whole time because you're like, yeah, he died heroically in Logan, but that's not how regenerative powers work. And you're like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so hilarious. It was like so damn good. I enjoyed where they went with it. I thought the TVA of it all was fantastic in this movie. I thought it legitimized Loki more than Loki even did. It brought back so much from Loki. Like, I loved Loki. So I felt like, we talk about the homework problem in the MCU. I felt rewarded for enjoying
Yeah.
things in the MCU, and I felt rewarded for going back and watching all the X-Men movies and watching some of the Wolverine movies. And I felt rewarded for being a fan, which is exactly what the MCU made its bread and butter on. And they're thinking, oh, the MCU is dead. The MCU isn't the same anymore. Like, it just stopped rewarding us like this. Give us what we want, and you can do whatever you want. And that's what Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman did so perfectly. And by the way, Emma Corrin was so diabolically perfect in this movie. Cassandra Nova, standing ovation. She was perfect in this film, and I could not believe how pitch perfect they got her character. It was so sinister, but yet so controlled, and it was almost comical. There's a lot of range in that I think she should get credit. This wasn't cinema. This wasn't a
Yeah.
highbrow movie, but that was almost Oscar level acting. That was great.
Hmm. She was incredible. Okay. A few things just to take it back to what we were talking about before, with the Logan of it all. The way that they address that right off the rip, and then still by the time the movie wrapped up, were able to bring a Logan back into the Fox universe and brought Laura back, even though Laura was still in that universe, but like was kind of off doing her own thing. We saw at the end of Logan, she buried him, she left him there, and she was off with the younger mutants, making their way north. Now she is with the Logan, the different Logan that is now in the Fox universe, and with Wade, and like the way that this is all shaping up right now for Secret Wars, I think is just awesome. But to kind of piggyback off what you said about Cassandra Nova and Emma Corrin, it's really weird to me because she was amazing. She was incredible. She was funny, like in a very still imposing kind of way. Like when she pulls the skin off of fucking Johnny Storm, just like without even a thought. Who was Chris Evans in this movie, by the way? We'll get there in a minute. But
She doesn't wash that hand.
yeah, yeah, so funny. And like I thought, let me think of how to word it. It almost felt to me like she was the villain of the movie, very much so, obviously. But it felt like she wasn't really the focus. Like so many of these, it wasn't like your classic, like Captain America versus Red Skull. Like it's more like the villain in her role there was sort of ancillary to the main story, which was really just about Deadpool and Wolverine themselves together and their interactions and how they would sort of get along and also accomplish their own sort of journeys throughout the movie. It felt like she was more a cog in that machine as opposed to being the driving force of the movie. But with that said, I still think in the role that they put her in, she was fucking incredible.
Yeah, this movie did exactly what the Marvels desperately needed to do. They made the heroes the focus of the story, just like the Marvels did, but the villain was incredibly notable.
Yes.
And that's really the thing. This wasn't a Cassandra Nova story. She was a player in the movie. And I really appreciated the end credit scene with you know him basically putting the words in Johnny Storm's mouth. It was so perfect. My ribs are still hurting.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit of satisfaction being in a theater of people who got it. Nobody got up. Nobody even thought about getting up. And Marvel, man, we got them trained, but it's just dude, the cameos were freaking phenomenal in this movie. There's not one that was forced. There's not one that didn't make any sense. And I love the idea of, I'm been rambling a bit. I love the idea of Logan being the anchor point for the Fox universe because he really was. He was the thing that connected the whole thing. I mean, who else could it have been? I mean, it couldn't have been anybody else because the movies wanted you to focus on him and him and him and him. They even reverted the franchise to make it a Wolverine franchise at one point. I mean, he was obviously the anchor point. I loved that. I thought it was great. Hugh Jackman standing the short Hugh Jackman was the best. And then the brown suit where they give the comic creators a little bit of applause. So damn good. It's the way to do that. It's the way to put that kind of stuff into these properties. Unbelievable what they did. I thought of our boy Jordan when we saw that Power of Love, because there's not a man on earth that loves Back to the Future more than
Yeah,
Jordan Wiggins.
yeah.
And I was just like, I walked out of that going, that's got to be his favorite part of the movie. It's gonna be his favorite part of the movie. It has to be. It's almost lawfully required to be his favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned you kind of touched on the Logan cameos part, and that cracked me up. I'm surprised you didn't mention the biggest one, being a DCU guy yourself. We've been hearing for
I've
years
got mixed
now
feelings.
the fan
I
cast of Henry Cavill as
I
Wolverine.
got mixed feelings. I
Do
got
you?
mixed feelings.
All right,
All right,
so
so here's the thing.
hold on, really quick,
Here's the thing.
before you
Okay.
go into your tangent. I just want to kind of rattle off some of the other ones because you also mentioned we got classic comic suit Wolverine in the brown and yellow fighting the Incredible Hulk, which is something that we have been dying as fans to see on screen for a while. We didn't actually see them fight. It was more of a tease to it, but I think it's something we're going to get down the road. We got a really funny moment where so basically the setup of all this for people who haven't seen it yet or just watching for spoilers is that Deadpool in the beginning is going universe to universe trying to find a Logan to replace the Logan that died in his universe so that his universe wouldn't slowly erode away, him being, like you mentioned, Chris, the anchor point of that universe. But we also got another one that really cracked me up from a classic Uncanny X-Men cover where Logan is kind of pinned up on the X, kind of like a wooden X throughout the in a field of
It's so
bloody.
hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's so hilarious, dude. I was laughing with that because I was just like the ridiculousness of this image.
yeah. But so yeah, we got a bunch of really funny cameos in that moment, and again, one of them was the Henry Cavill moment. So, Chris, as a DC guy and specifically somebody who loved the DCU, like was that something that really hit for you, or did you feel like it was a little out of place?
I kind of want to see it a second time to see how I feel about it. I
Okay.
with Henry Cavill, there is so much baggage. As a guy who loved Man of Steel, loves Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm talking about the 4 hour glorious cut. I I have, and a guy who's so excited about the DCU, it was almost like seeing him. It's like he's an X. I almost think of him like an X. Like, and
Well,
it's
this was
it's
like
front.
seeing an X with somebody else. Being a
Yeah,
DC
it's
guy. Like,
exactly what it was. It was like I had great memories with him in the DCU, and I it took me by surprise. I did like it. He looked awesome as Wolverine, and the 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 Calverine kind of thing was just like hilarious. I actually, one of my nitpicks with this film is I think the fourth wall breaks were just a little too much.
okay.
I think they overdid it with the fourth wall breaks to the point where it almost took it away from the story, away from the being in the movie. Like, a couple are good. Like, I thought it was like something that just has a little too much salt. But
Especially in I feel like the first act, there was a lot of references to Disney and Fox in there, and like you kind of expected them, but it did get a little bit gratuitous at times. I can agree with you there for sure.
the best one though was when he says, "I'm going to Disneyland." Like, it was
You said what's the
that whole
difference?
moment. Yeah, that was really good. Like, I want some, I don't want all, and I think that's kind of my biggest nitpick with the film. And if that's my biggest nitpick of the film, guys, congratulations, Deadpool and Wolverine. I liked it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, we'll just we'll kind of start to wrap things up here. Again, this is just our super raw out of the theater reactions. We're gonna have a full breakdown of all the goodness in the coming days. But I guess the last thing I just wanted to touch on a little more firmly was the cameo team we got. So basically, Wolverine and Deadpool are in the void, and they're looking for another team of sort of multiversal survivors that can help them kind of like infiltrate Cassandra Nova and get them back to their own world. And in this group, there was the aforementioned Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, which was really funny to me. He wasn't part of that. He was part of the group, but wasn't part of the reveal of the rest of them because he had
Yeah,
his
Deadpool got him
skin
killed.
ripped
I
off.
mean, Deadpool got him killed.
Yeah,
It is what it
very
is.
much so. Did that? I will say though. So when they first introduce him and they show you like from here down, and he's just got the red and blue, instantly I
Oh,
was
I thought
like,
it was Cap.
"That's
I thought it
fucking
was
Captain
Cap.
America."
And they played on it too. They made a joke about it. Like it was
He's
perfect the
gonna
way they
say the
did that.
thing. Yeah.
Because I was like, I was waiting for I could do this all day, and I was like, holy crap! And you know what? I
And he just
I
goes
thought
flame on. It's like holy shit.
it was so good. Chris Evans has this ability to steal the show. It was
Yeah.
just it was like he's so good. He was down for the assignment, and I think he enjoyed himself a little too much, and he got away with it. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, in a good way. Like it's funny because like the way he kind of switched it up. Like at first, it felt like even the way he was presenting himself was very Captain America, and then from the moment he goes flame on, he's just like a mouthy asshole. Like just it was really funny. We're very well done. But the other ones we got, some were expected, some were not. You know, we knew Laura was going to be in there. There'd been a lot of rumors that Elektra was going to be in there, but we caught Wesley Snipes' Blade in there, and we got the Channing Tatum Gambit kind of it all. Again, I think I mentioned it before, but the line of "Who the fuck was your dialect coach?" I thought that was hilarious. But I guess, what was your favorite cameo that we got?
It was Blade. It's not even close. It was Blade. Like there's only one Blade, and I was like, and it was almost like a shot that Blade movie is never going to actually happen, which was hilarious to
Yeah,
me going to the movie. Like I picked up on that. I don't know if that's what it was intending, but like Wesley, dude, this is perfect. It was. I did not see it coming. It was the only one I didn't see coming, and he was so freaking committed to that role,
yeah,
and he was so straight and serious that it was hilarious, and I love that for him. I thought it was fantastic. Blade by far my favorite cameo in this movie because most of them I saw coming or at
yeah,
least could see coming.
yeah,
Like that one, I was just like, this is really freaking random.
yeah. One thing I was surprised about though is that we got no Charles, no Gene, no Scott. Like it almost feels like that's something they're specifically saving for Secret Wars. Like when the Logan that we left off with in this movie gets a chance to kind of reunite with all of them and like maybe I don't even know if I would say apologize. It really just kind of depends on how much they want to like continue to dive into this universe Logan's story like going forward, but I was a little surprised that we didn't get them.
I thought Famke Jensen, I told you, I
Yeah.
thought she was almost not even a cameo. Like that would have just been
I wore
story
my fucking jean shirt
appropriate.
there and everything, expecting it.
Yeah, and the thing with her is she's so age appropriate with Hugh Jackman.
Mm.
She's 59 years old. He's what, 64, 63.
Is he fucking
Um,
that old? Oh my god.
dude, Hugh Jackman is the real life Captain America playing Wolverine. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. He's just
Yeah.
he really is. I love Hugh Jackman. I think he's a treasure. I think it was one of the funniest things was they had the Canada jokes with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Get get my country out of your mouth. And the sword. Perfect. Perfect. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But yeah, I would have loved to see Jean Grey. I didn't really need Charles. I feel like we've gone to that well enough. I feel like we had Charles in this movie in terms of presence because
Yes.
Emma Corrin's Cassandra Nova said, "Oh, but I didn't have a Charles to teach me temperance."
And
which is just delivered so perfectly. It was just
and
so good.
when Logan says like, if my Charles knew you were here, he would have broken every fucking multi or whatever he says exactly. Like he would have gotten you out of here, and that was kind of like her tipping point of like, all right, I will let you guys go and not just kill you right here and now. So I thought that it was nice to
Yeah,
still have
absolutely.
the Xavier presence for sure.
Well, the thing was, and that scene was so cool because he's like, "We're mutants. We're never safe." He gets the claws out, and then he's just hopeless. It's so good. I I really appreciated the thought process that went into this film. It was like just enough seriousness. Like I feel like there was a draft of this that was too ridiculous, and they're like, we don't want to scale that back, but we just need just enough seriousness to make this work.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a lot of heart snuck into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. I want to watch it again. I'm digesting it. So I'm probably not going to get to see it Friday or Saturday because I got things going on. But I maybe like Monday or Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
I'll like try to get like a matinee showing and see what's going on because I feel like there's going to be things I take out of this movie second and third watches.
Oh, there definitely is, especially in terms of the sort of long term ramifications that will come from it. I think they set things up perfectly here in terms of how to go forward into the culmination of this multiverse story and make Secret Wars basically the Fox universe versus the 616, our MCU universe. They saved the Fox universe. They think everything's great right now. They're all sitting around the dinner table. Everyone's alive because they, in the end, once Wade and Logan themselves save the sacred timeline from Cassandra Nova, they get, I guess, for lack of a better term, kind of like a wish of like basically they bring certain people back and sort of restore certain timelines to what they were. Basically, the TVA kind of says, "All right, you saved the sacred timeline. We'll let you have this," sort of thing. So I think the things that they did with that set up perfectly to where the Fox universe now is sort of at full strength in terms of their character roster. And when they collide with the MCU, when their universes incur and they all find themselves on Battle World fucking 3 years from now, it's going to be awesome.
Oh God, I can't wait. The best gift that this movie did was the term "educated wish."
Yeah, yeah,
I, I, yeah, and I love Logan's reaction to it because it's you made an educated wish.
yeah,
It's so good, so good. And then at the end, it's like, hey, it was an educated wish. It was I'm gonna say educated wish like
yeah.
all the time now.
And one thing, and we'll kind of wrap up after this, but one thing that I liked that they did was that they didn't just restore everybody from that Logan's universe and like, oh, he's off, he's happy now. And they referenced the fact of like, if all the bad shit that happened to that Logan didn't happen, he wouldn't be the Logan that's standing there right now that just saved the sacred timeline and like had this big redemption moment. And it just it kind of added some stakes to the movie and the multiverse as a whole, which I feel like can be missing sometimes in a concept like the multiverse, where it can be so okay, one variant's dead, let's just fucking throw another one in there, sort of thing.
I am so glad you said that because one of the things I got out of this movie is the importance of loving yourself and giving yourself credit. And I think that that is something this movie really hit home on. I think this movie really put these characters through the same emotional ringer. And I think I think that's such a valuable thing. So when people say, oh, it's not a sophisticated movie or it's not a highbrow cinema movie, I'll be like, well, you know what? It made a point that every day you can look at and go, you know what? I need to love myself. And to be perfectly honest, this is a time I kind of needed this message.
Yeah.
I kind of need it because it's a constant reminder for me. It's a constant reminder. So I'm so glad you said that. I really like that.
Yeah, the Deadpool's whole kind of premise of the movie is what he wants to matter. It's about self-worth and finding that in the crazy situation that they found themselves in throughout that movie, and how him sort of realizing that him mattering as long as he matters to the people that matter to him, like that's what's most important. Because how does the it begins with him around the table at his birthday with Vanessa and with Dopinder and with fucking Colossus and all these characters, Domino, and then how it ends in that same way. It was very much full circle and sort of him finding his own self-worth in the people that he loves. And hopefully they continue to expand on that. We saw at the end Vanessa puts her hand on his. Whoever that guy she was dating that likes hiking, he sounded like a fucking chode. So hopefully it ends up with them getting back together here before Secret Wars and all of the craziness that is sure to happen throughout that process. Oh, shit. One more thing we have to mention, though. No reveal for Lady Deadpool. We have no clue who was under the mask.
To me, that means nobody ever was. It was just voiced by Blake Lively.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's to me the answer. Actually, two things I want to mention, and one of them's funny and one of them's serious. Let's do the funny thing first in Deadpool fashion. I thought it was awesome that like Wolverine holds out the dog and nobody shoots. Nobody wants to kill the dog because there's a thought in your head that goes, "I swear to God, if they kill that dog." But the serious thing I wanted to mention was there was that scene where they're in the kitchen and Vanessa's like, "You're here, but you're not really here."
Yeah.
And I feel like, and then what was cool about that was Cassandra Nova put words in her mouth,
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa's mouth,
Yeah.
and it showed you how you can torture yourself, and it showed you how important it was to have clarity and not to write stories in your head that aren't true. And it was so incredibly important because there's so many people of that conversation. We're here, but you're not really here.
Yep.
You don't have purpose. You don't have drive. There's nothing bigger than you. You're just having
What
fun.
did
You're
she
just
say?
doing your
She said
thing.
you got knocked down and eventually you never got back up.
Yeah, it's such a great. There's so many great messages in here. Just they're just hidden under all the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really. I'm so glad we touched on that. Um, obviously, um, very important to me. I think that was great.
Yeah. All right, so we'll put a pin in her here. As I mentioned, we have a much more sort of in depth breakdown of this movie coming. Us two and Jordan will be here, sort of going step by step through all of it. When Jordan's back to sort of be uh, the the one who mans the reins, so to speak. Because when me and Chris get on here alone, we just start riffing and we go in a million fucking different directions because that's just how we operate. So hopefully we weren't too scatterbrained here and that you all were able to enjoy it and pick up sort of our raw reactions to the movie. But just I guess before we leave off here, Chris, any final words?
Well, with what you were just saying with Jordan not being here, there's a line from Suits where it goes, "Life is this. I like this, like a pie," and we're both that way. And we're
Yeah,
both that way. And we need the straight man. We need the narrator. We need the important host
the
that is
emotional adult in
Jordan
the room.
Wigan. Yeah, he really is. He is the father to not just Landon. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
He,
to
he
us
he
too.
keeps things straight, and you know what? He will turn this car around, and it is great. No, I was thinking about Jordan a lot with this movie, though. I don't know why. I just was. So can't wait to talk to him about it. Going to be a lot of fun when we like dive like full blown into this thing. This movie gave me life. I hope it gave you life too, and that's really all I got to say.
Hell yeah. I think anybody who was a big Fox X-Men fan during, coming up in our era of the early days of superhero movies, I think will love and appreciate the shit out of this movie, and we'll hopefully watch it many times. But with that said, we'll get you out of here for today, everybody. My name is Ron. Chris, thank you so much for hopping on here again, even though it was a blast, obviously.
It's
And
the
yeah,
logjam trinity -1. It is what it
yeah,
is. You know,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always here. I'm always here for you, man. You know that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. We're kind of stumbling into the end here because I'm like 3 vodka sodas deep and we're just kind of doing what we're doing here. Whatever. Here we go. End of the show is right now. My name is Ron. His name is Chris. We're going to get out of here and we'll see you next time.
Let's fucking go.